star LeBron wanted, but the Lakers could not catch. LeBron James finally saw the perfect star appear on the market, and before the Lakers could grab him, the entire NBA watched someone else steal the dream. LaMelo Ball was not supposed to be available. Not now. Not after the healthiest season of his career. Not after Charlotte finally looked like a team moving in the right direction. But the moment reports surfaced that the Hornets were taking calls on their 4-year-old all-star guard, the league changed overnight. This was not just another rumor. This was not another fake trade machine fantasy built by fans looking for clicks. This was LaMelo Ball, one of the most electric guards in basketball. A player with the kind of passing vision that turns ordinary possessions into viral moments, the kind of deep shooting that forces defenses to stretch, and the kind of star power that makes every big market team lean forward. And in Los Angeles, the reaction was immediate, because for years, Lakers fans have watched LeBron carry more responsibility than any player his age should ever have to carry. Even with Luka Dončić now beside him, the Lakers still needed something else. They needed speed. They needed creativity. They needed a guard who could run the offense when LeBron sat, create shots when Luka was trapped, and turn broken plays into easy points. LaMelo looked like that answer. Imagine it for a second. LeBron controlling the game with his mind. Luka bending defenses with his scoring, and LaMelo flying through the open floor, throwing no-look passes, pulling up from deep, and giving Los Angeles the kind of backcourt chaos that playoff defenses hate. On paper, it felt dangerous. In Hollywood, it felt perfect. But here's where the story turned. The Lakers were not the only team watching. Minnesota was watching too. Toronto was watching. Milwaukee was watching. And while Los Angeles fans were dreaming about LaMelo in purple and gold, other front offices were already preparing real offers. That is what makes this story painful for Lakers Nation. The fit made sense, the need was obvious, the timing felt urgent, but in today's NBA, wanting a star is not enough. You need assets, you need picks, you need flexibility, you need the ability to move before another team closes the door. And the Lakers, after years of chasing championships with short-term moves, were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Because LaMelo Ball did move, just not to Los Angeles. So before we get deeper into how the Lakers lost this race, how Minnesota shocked the league, and what this means for LeBron's final championship window, drop your city in the comments right now. Where are you watching from? If you think the Lakers should have gone all in for LaMelo Ball, press 1. If you think they were right to stay away from that risk, press 2. And if you follow NBA drama, trade rumors, and every move that could change the league, subscribe to the channel right now, because this story is only getting started. Why LaMelo became the most dangerous name on the market. LaMelo Ball was never just another player in a trade rumor. He was the kind of name that made general managers stop what they were doing, made fan bases, open trade machines, and made contenders ask one dangerous question: what if we could get him? Because when LaMelo is healthy, he changes the geometry of the game. He does not see basketball the way most guards see it. He sees passing angles before they exist. He throws the ball into spaces defenders have not even reacted to yet. He can cross half court, look one way, fire the pass the other way, and suddenly a teammate is catching the ball in rhythm for an open three. That is why this situation became so explosive. Charlotte was not dealing with a declining veteran. They were not moving a player whose best days were clearly behind him. They were listening on a 4-year-old all-star guard, a former rookie of the year, a player still young enough to be the face of a franchise for the next decade, and that is what made the entire NBA uncomfortable. Because players like that are not supposed to become available. They are supposed to be protected. They are supposed to be built around. They are supposed to get more help, not become the piece everyone else is chasing. But LaMelo's story has never been simple. The talent has always been obvious. The availability has always been the question. For years, every time he seemed ready to explode into the next tier of NBA stardom, something interrupted the climb. An injury, a misstretch, a season where Charlotte's hope turned into frustration. That history followed him into every trade conversation. Teams were not just asking, how good is LaMelo Ball? They were asking, can we trust him to be there when the season matters most? That is the hard part with a player like him. The upside is enormous. The risk is real. His contract is massive. His profile is loud. His game is electric. His brand brings attention everywhere he goes. For a small market team like Charlotte, that can be both a blessing and a burden. Still, none of that scared teams away. Because when LaMelo played, the numbers spoke for themselves. He gave Charlotte scoring, playmaking, deep shooting, pace, flair, and hope. He made a franchise that had been stuck in the shadows feel relevant again. Fans tuned in because something unpredictable could happen every time he touched the ball. And in today's NBA, Unpredictability is valuable. The league is full of structured systems, careful spacing, and calculated possessions. LaMelo breaks structure. He turns defensive mistakes into highlights. He turns transition chances into moments. He makes ordinary players look more dangerous because he finds them before the defense can recover. That is why the market moves so fast. The Lakers saw a possible third creator. Minnesota saw a perfect partner for Anthony Edwards. Toronto saw a star to restart around. Milwaukee saw one more swing to keep its title window alive. Every team saw something different, but they all saw the same core truth. LaMelo Ball was not just available. He was dangerous. Dangerous because he could make a good team great. Dangerous because his price would force teams to gamble. Dangerous because if Charlotte moved him too soon, they might regret it for years. And dangerous because the team that landed him would not just be adding a guard, they would be changing their entire future. The Lakers' dream fit with LeBron and Luka. For the Lakers, LaMelo Ball was not just another star name. He looked like the exact answer to a problem Los Angeles had been trying to solve for years. LeBron James can still control a game with his mind, but he cannot carry every possession forever. Luka Dončić gives the Lakers another generational offensive force, but Luka also needs the ball in his hands. That created one major question. Who could keep the offense alive when defenses trapped Luka, when LeBron needed rest, and when the game slowed down in the playoffs? LaMelo fit that need perfectly. He could push the pace, run the second unit, create shots out of broken plays, and throw passes that most guards would never even see. He would not just take pressure off LeBron, he would give the Lakers another rhythm entirely. Instead of being a two-star offense, Los Angeles could have become a three-creator nightmare. Imagine LeBron reading the floor, Luka bending the defense, and LaMelo flying through transition with no-look passes and deep threes. That kind of trio would have been impossible to ignore. It would have been flashy, dangerous, and built for the Hollywood spotlight. But the same thing that made the dream so exciting also made the loss more painful. The fit was obvious, the need was real, the story was perfect, yet in the NBA, perfect stories do not win trades. Assets do, and the Lakers were about to learn that the hard way. The Hollywood connection and the return home story. LaMelo Ball to the Lakers would have been more than a basketball move. It would have been a Hollywood story. LaMelo was born in California, grew up inside one of the loudest basketball families in America, and spent most of his life under camera. From Chino Hills to Lithuania, from the JBA to Australia, his path to the NBA was never normal. Every step brought attention, criticism, and doubt, but through all of it, LaMelo kept proving one thing: the talent was real. That is why the idea of him returning to Los Angeles felt so powerful. The Lakers are not just a team, they are a stage. Stars do not simply play there. They become part of basketball history. LaMelo already had the fame, the style, and the confidence. Los Angeles would have given him the biggest platform in the sport. And next to LeBron and Luka, the story would have sold itself. The California kid comes home, the Ball family returns to the spotlight, LeBron gets one more young star for a final title push, Luka gets a long-term partner for the next era. It had drama, it had emotion, it had headlines written all over it, but Los Angeles also brings pressure. Every turnover becomes a debate. Every injury becomes a crisis. Every quote becomes national news. For some players, that spotlight is too much. But LaMelo has never lived a quiet basketball life. That is why the idea felt natural. It looked like destiny. But destiny does not matter when another team makes the better offer. Why Charlotte finally let go. The biggest shock was not that teams wanted LaMelo Ball. The biggest shock was that Charlotte was willing to listen. For years, LaMelo looked like the face of the Hornets' future. He gave the franchise energy, highlights, national attention, and hope. When he was healthy, Charlotte looked like a team with direction. So why move him? The answer starts with health. LaMelo's talent was never the issue. Availability was. Injuries had interrupted his rise more than once, and no front office can ignore that when a player is on a massive contract. Then came the money. LaMelo's deal required a long-term commitment, and Charlotte had to decide if he was truly the player they wanted to build around for the next decade. At the same time, the Hornets had other young pieces emerging. Brandon Miller and the rest of the young core gave Charlotte a different vision. Suddenly, the front office did not have to view the future through LaMelo alone. That changed everything. After LaMelo's healthiest season, his value was high. If Charlotte waited and he got hurt again, the market could shrink. If they waited and the team stayed stuck near the play-in, they could lose leverage. So they made the cold business decision. They listened, and once multiple teams showed interest, Charlotte realized it had power. The Hornets could either keep the exciting star and accept the risk, or sell high and reset the franchise with picks, flexibility, and younger pieces. They chose the future. It was painful, it was risky, but in the NBA, sometimes the hardest move is the one a front office believes it has to make before everyone else understands why. The Lakers had the dream, but not the assets. This is where the Lakers side becomes painful. Los Angeles did not miss LaMelo because the fit was bad. The fit was great. They did not miss him because the need was unclear. The need was obvious. They missed him because wanting a star and having enough to trade for one are two completely different things. The Lakers had already spent years chasing championships with short-term moves. Some of those moves worked. The Anthony Davis trade helped bring a title to Los Angeles, but every win-now move has a cost, and eventually that cost catches up. It caught up when LaMelo became available. Charlotte needed real value. Picks, swaps, young talent, and salary that made sense. The Lakers could offer names like Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Max Christie, and future picks. That was not nothing, but it was not enough to dominate the market. Other teams had cleaner packages, more picks, more flexibility, more ways to tempt Charlotte. That is the harsh truth. The Lakers still have the brand. They still have LeBron. They still have Luka. They still control attention whenever their name enters a rumor. But modern NBA trades are not won by reputation. They are won by assets, and the Lakers did not have enough. That is why this missed opportunity matters. LaMelo was young, famous, skilled, and perfectly suited to help LeBron now while also fitting Luka's future. But when the bidding started, Los Angeles was trapped by its own past decision. Every pick traded before made this moment harder. Every shortcut narrowed the path. Every win-now gamble made the next big swing more difficult. The Lakers had the dream. Minnesota had the package, and that was the difference. Minnesota entered the room and changed everything. While Lakers fans were imagining LaMelo in purple and gold, Minnesota was preparing to act. The Timberwolves looked at the Western Conference and saw the truth. Oklahoma City was too strong. San Antonio was rising too fast. Anthony Edwards was becoming a superstar, but he needed another creator beside him if Minnesota wanted to take the next step. LaMelo Ball was that player. Edwards brings power, explosiveness, and fearless scoring. LaMelo brings vision, pace, shooting, and creativity. Together, they give Minnesota two young stars who can attack defenses in completely different ways. That is why the Wolves moved aggressively. They were not trying to win headlines. They were trying to close the gap. They had already seen what happened when Edwards had to carry too much against elite playoff defenses. They needed someone who could punish traps, create easy looks, and keep the offense unpredictable. LaMelo gave him that. The risk was real. His health history mattered. His contract mattered. His defense had questions. But Minnesota decided the upside was worth the danger. For the Lakers, that made everything worse. Minnesota was already a playoff problem. They had already beaten Los Angeles. Now they were adding the exact type of player the Lakers wanted for themselves. That is not just missing out on a target. That is watching a conference rival become stronger with your dream piece. One day, LaMelo looked like a Lakers possibility. The next day, he was a Timberwolf, and the West changed instantly. The price of going all in. The trade package showed how serious Minnesota really was. LaMelo Ball and Josh Green went to the Timberwolves. Charlotte received Naz Reid, a future unprotected first-round pick, multiple first-round pick swaps, and several future second-round picks. That was not a small move. That was a franchise going all in. For Charlotte, the deal gave them flexibility. Naz Reid gave them a proven front court piece. The picks and swaps gave them long-term option. If the Hornets were going to move LaMelo, they needed a package that could shape the next era. Minnesota, meanwhile, paid a heavy price. Naz Reid was important. He gave them scoring, size, shooting, and depth. Losing him hurts. The picks matter too. Once those assets are gone, it becomes harder to fix mistakes later. That is what going all in really means. It sounds exciting, but it also removes escape routes. Now, Minnesota has to make this work. Edwards and LaMelo have to fit. LaMelo has to stay healthy. The defense has to hold. The coaching staff has to build a system where both stars can shine. If it works, the Timberwolves become one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. If it fails, they may not have enough assets left to recover quickly. But that is the cost of ambition. Minnesota did not wait for a perfect price. They paid the painful price because they believed this was the move that could push them closer to a championship. The Lakers can say LaMelo is too risky. They can say Minnesota overpaid. They may even be right, but the standings do not care about explanation. Minnesota got better. Charlotte got a future. The Lakers still need answers. What this means for the Western Conference. The Western Conference was already brutal before LaMelo Ball landed in Minnesota. Now it feels even more dangerous. Oklahoma City sits near the top with youth, depth, defense, shooting, and the kind of roster balance every front office dreams about. San Antonio has Victor Wembanyama, a player so unique that every matchup feels like a math problem nobody has fully solved. Denver is always dangerous when its core is healthy. Dallas, Golden State, Phoenix, Houston, Memphis, and other teams are all trying to find their own path back into the fight. And now Minnesota has Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. That changes the conversation. Before the trade, the Timberwolves were already physical, confident, and playoff tested. They had enough defense to make opponents uncomfortable and enough star power to win games. But they still had moments where the offense looked heavy. Moments where Edwards had to force something because no one else could create the kind of advantage a playoff defense fears. LaMelo changes that. He gives Minnesota a second player who can create from nothing. He gives Edwards relief. He gives the offense more tempo, more creativity, more unpredictability. He gives the Wolves a guard who can turn a double team into an open corner three, a missed rotation into a lob, and a sleepy transition possession into a highlight. That matters because playoff defenses are built to take away comfort. If they trap Edwards, LaMelo can punish them. If they focus on LaMelo's passing, Edwards can attack downhill. If they sag, LaMelo can shoot. If they switch, Edwards can hunt mismatches. That is the kind of offensive flexibility Minnesota did not fully have before. For the Lakers, this is a problem. Los Angeles already had questions. Who protects the rim? Who defends elite wings? Who gives LeBron rest without the game slipping away? Who creates when Luka is trapped? Who provides enough shooting and athleticism to survive 4 playoff rounds? Those questions did not disappear. They got louder because the team that knocked them out before just added the star they wanted. The team LeBron and Luka may have to see again is now younger, faster, and more explosive. That does not mean the Lakers cannot beat Minnesota. LeBron and Luka are still 2 of the smartest offensive forces in basketball. In a playoff series, that matters, but the margin for error is shrinking. The Lakers cannot rely only on reputation. They cannot assume the jersey will scare anyone. They cannot keep expecting LeBron to solve every crisis with one more historic night. At some point, the roster has to give him real support. That is why missing LaMelo could become more than a headline. It could become a warning. The West is not waiting for the Lakers to figure things out. Minnesota moved. Oklahoma City is already built. San Antonio is rising. Younger teams are getting stronger. Every year LeBron ages, the conference gets more athletic, more expensive, and more fearless. So Los Angeles, hasta respond. Maybe that means finding a center like Walker Kessler. Maybe it means adding wing defense. Maybe it means developing younger players instead of trading every pick away. Maybe it means accepting that the next great Lakers team cannot be built only through emergency star hunting. That is the strategic lesson hiding inside this drama. The Lakers missed LaMelo not because they lacked ambition, but because ambition without flexibility is not enough. They still have LeBron, they still have Luka, they still have one of the strongest brands in sports, but they also have pressure. Pressure to prove that this era still has one more run left. Pressure to show that Luka's future will not be wasted. Pressure to give LeBron more than respect and headlines. Pressure to turn a painful missed opportunity into a smarter next move. Because in the West, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. The lesson for LeBron, the Lakers, and every team chasing a star, the LaMelo Ball story is not just about one trade. It is about timing, it is about preparation, it is about the difference between dreaming of a star and being ready when that star suddenly becomes available. The Lakers dreamed, Minnesota acted, Charlotte chose the future, and the rest of the NBA watched the balance of the Western Conference shift in real time. For LeBron James, this has to feel familiar and frustrating at the same time. He has spent his entire career understanding windows better than almost anyone. He knows when a team is close. He knows when a roster is one piece away. He knows when a front office needs to move with urgency. And at this stage of his career, every missed opportunity feels heavier because there are fewer seasons left to correct it. That is not disrespect. That is reality. LeBron can still be great. He can still lead. He can still make the right play when the game gets tight. But the Lakers cannot ask him to beat time and the Western Conference at the same time without enough help. Luka Dončić gives them a foundation. That matters. But even Luka needs structure around him. He needs defense. He needs spacing. He needs a center who can protect the rim. He needs role players who understand pressure. He needs a front office that does not just react to the market, but prepares for it before the market opens. That is the real lesson. Championships are not built only on big names. They are built on options. Picks matter, development matters, patience matters, discipline matters. The teams that always have something to offer are the teams that stay danger. The teams that spend everything chasing yesterday's solution often find themselves empty-handed when tomorrow's answer appears. That is what happened with LaMelo. The Lakers had the story, they had the need, they had the spotlight, but Minnesota had the package, and in the NBA, the package wins. For Charlotte, this was a different kind of lesson. Sometimes a franchise has to make a painful decision before the rest of the world understands it. Moving LaMelo may look cold, It may look risky. It may even look wrong if he becomes a superstar in Minnesota. But the Hornets made a bet that flexibility, picks, and a new core could take them further than waiting on a talented but uncertain path. That takes courage. For Minnesota, the lesson is about belief. They believed Anthony Edwards was ready for a real co-star. They believed LaMelo's upside was worth the risk. They believed that chasing a title requires bold action, not safe explanations. Maybe they are right. Maybe they are wrong. But they chose to compete with urgency. And that is something every NBA team can understand. There comes a moment when a franchise has to decide what it truly wants to be. A patient builder, a reckless gambler, a careful contender, a desperate chaser. The best teams know who they are before the pressure arrives. The Lakers are still answering that question. Are they trying to win one more with LeBron? Are they building the next era around Luka? Are they doing both at once? Can they develop young talent while still chasing stars? Can they stop paying for past shortcuts and start building a future with real balance? Those answers will define the next chapter in Los Angeles. But beyond the strategy, there is a human part to this story too. Players are not just assets. LaMelo gave Charlotte excitement. Naz Reid gave Minnesota loyalty and production. LeBron has given the Lakers years of historic basketball. Fans attach memories to these names. And when trades happen, it is easy to talk only about contracts and picks. But behind every move are people adjusting to new cities, new roles, new expectations, and new pressure. That is why the best organizations do not just chase talent. They build trust, they communicate clearly, they respect players even when business gets cold. They understand that winning is not only about stacking stars, but about creating an environment where stars can actually become their best self. LaMelo now gets a new stage in Minnesota. Edwards gets the partner he needed, Charlotte gets a new future, and the Lakers get a warning they cannot ignore. The dream was there, the opportunity was real, but in the NBA, the team that is ready wins the moment. So now, I want to hear from you. Did the Lakers make a mistake by missing out on LaMelo Ball? Or did Minnesota take a risk that could come back to haunt them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you think the Lakers must make another major move for LeBron and Luka, press 1. If you think they should stop chasing stars and build smarter, press 2. And if you want more NBA trade drama, superstar stories, and breakdowns like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with another real basketball fan.